and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 2467B, and today's date is May 2nd, 2021, and the title of the episode is Soon They Won't Be Able to Walk Down the Street. Election Fraud Panic Intensifies. Let's talk about protecting yourself. A teen who was behind a $100,000 cryptocurrency scheme has been sentenced to prison. Graham Ivan Clark, 18, hacked over 100 high-profile Twitter accounts and used those accounts to scam six figures worth of cryptocurrency from people around the world. He was sentenced to 3 years in prison, followed by 3 years of probation. Some of the hack accounts included Barack Obama, Joe Biden, Apple, Uber, Kim Kardashian, Jeff Bezos, and Elon Musk. So if these high-profile accounts can get hacked this easily, how difficult would it be for a determined hacker to target you or me? This is why I love using Virtual Shield, Virtual Private Network. It grants you an extra layer of internet protection by allowing you to browse your favorite websites anonymously. I tried out the top VPNs around the world, and Virtual Shield hands down is my favorite. There's no hidden fees, and Virtual Shield has strict no-log policy, unlike typical VPNs you'll find recommended online. It's fast, secure, it's easy to use. Virtual Shield works by routing your data through encrypted virtual tunnels to make it difficult for hackers or website hosts to track you across the web. I use it on all my devices and my family's devices. I highly recommend Virtual Shield. Try it today for 50% off by going to virtualshield.com/X22 or click the link in the description. Let's get into the economic collapse, political, and geopolitical news. Now, the deep state, the mainstream media, the corrupt politicians, they are panicking, and it's intensifying. Why? Because of what is happening down in Arizona, in Maricopa County. They're very, very nervous about the results, and they've been projecting right now because they know what's coming. They're trying to get ahead of the story. And this is why they're pushing the panic. They're pushing the QAnon conspiracy. Remember, there is no such thing as QAnon. There's Q, and then there's Anons. But they're combining it to fool everyone, thinking that it's one entity. But they're trying as hard as they possibly can to try to get ahead of this, because they know that once this information starts to come out, they need a way to block it. And I don't mean a communication blackout or anything like that, but block it in a way where you can't believe this information because it came from conspiracy theorists. Now, the problem they're going to have as time goes on is that the propaganda that they've been pushing is going to fall apart, because once the facts are presented and people see the facts and they see the votes being flipped, they see the fraudulent ballots, they see how the signatures and everything else and the folds, how these cannot be real. And they're not just going to produce, oh, here's one set. They're going to produce tens of thousands, most likely. This is when their propaganda falls apart, because facts and truth will always override propaganda. Now, facts and truth sometimes takes a long time to come out. Sometimes you have to go back in time and find what the facts and the truth were, because remember, these people, they like to keep control of their narrative. They don't want the truth and the facts out. But if you notice, the truth and the facts, they've been hitting against propaganda, and it's becoming more and more difficult for the fake news to keep their stories in line. Take, for instance, Rudy Giuliani. Washington Post put out a fake story, and they had to admit it was a fake story that had to do with the FBI. We'll be talking about that in just a second. But once this information starts to flow out and other states start to question the election, and they say, well, maybe we should audit because this seems like there's problems, this is going to lead from one state to another. Now, the only thing the deep state, the mainstream media, the invisible enemy can do at this point is either have this incredible false flag where they can try to distract everything, or they can have a communication blackout. Yes, they're going to censor people. Yes, they're going to try to hide all of this. But once they do this, the people who are watching this, they're going to question it. Yes, they'll probably use some type of false flag to say this is why there is a communication blackout, but there'll be other platforms that will be immune to this. And if those other platforms are immune to what they're doing here, and the information gets out, people are going to see, well, their systems are down, but these systems are up, and here the truth is, and here the facts are. And this is going to be a huge problem for them. This is why the panic is intensifying. Remember, all this is going to lead to a government that was put into place by cheating, which will incapacitate the government. And remember, Trump, during the pandemic, he put into place certain things with the military for devolution, where the military will be compartmentalized in different cities. A military leader who needs to remember his oath will control the area. And the military will control this entire country until another civilian government can be put into place. It doesn't mean that the military is going to fly in and arrest people. They're going to keep the peace and most likely have another election. Now, why do I say have another election? Because I don't believe the deep state is just going to accept the results of the audits in all these different states and say Trump is the winner. Most likely they're going to demand a new election, or they'll fight to keep the election that was done and Biden won. But the people are going to demand something completely different. The people are going to demand a new election without the mail-in ballots, without the computer systems. And I do believe most likely the military will control the next election, probably using paper, completely transparent, not like what they did in the first election in 2020, where they boarded up windows, they kept people far away from what was really going on, shutting down the election in the middle of the night so they can cheat. And I do believe that this next election will be very, very different than the 2020 election. And once this happens, it will be shown that they cheated like the country has never seen before. And think about what Trump has been doing this entire time and those people working with him. They've been showing the people the truth. They've been exposing the deep state. Trump is getting the support from we the people. That's what he needs moving forward, because if the leader has the support of the people, the treasonous leader, they have nothing. And it's all leading up to this. And we're starting to see the deep state panic, and it's intensifying because they don't know how to stop this. And they're worrying. And they don't know what Trump is going to do next. Now, what's very interesting, and we'll be talking all about that a little bit later in this report, but what's very interesting is that during the 2019 campaign, Biden was out there and he said, no one in my family will have an office in the White House, will sit in on meetings as if they were a cabinet member, will in fact have any business relationships with anyone that relates to foreign corporations or foreign countries. And he also pledged that none of his family members would have any foreign business relationships. Well, there's a problem, because Hunter Biden, his son, still owns a stake in a Chinese private equity firm 100 days into his father's presidency, after he pledged to prohibit family members from engaging in international business dealings. Now, Jen Psaki was out there saying that he's trying to unwind all of this, but shouldn't he have unwound all of this a long time ago? It's been 100 days. Can you imagine if Trump's son was involved after Trump pledged this? The mainstream media would be all over this. And why hasn't he removed himself from this? That's very interesting. And that reminds me once again of post 3,383, July 8th, 2019, where it says, imagine what would happen if by law every U.S. congressman, woman, U.S. senator, president, etc., was by U.S. law audited every 1 to 2 years by an independent agency. Imagine what would happen if those audits extended to all family members of such elected officials. Well, I do believe we're going to see this happen. I do believe we're going to see family members, those people that are elected, audited to make sure that they don't have any dealings. Now, like we said in the beginning, Rudy Giuliani, his apartment was raided. And the Washington Post put out an article about the FBI knowing about this and Giuliani knowing about this, where the FBI tried to warn Giuliani. Now, Giuliani was doing a couple of interviews, and he said this is absolutely, completely fake, phony, and false. So we've come to learn that, yes, indeed, what the Washington Post put out was completely fake. And this is what they tweeted out. We've deleted an earlier tweet saying that the FBI warned Rudy Giuliani that he was the target of a Russian misinformation campaign, which he has since disputed. This story has been corrected. So they put out a fake story, and the rest of the mainstream media went along with it. And then we've come to find out that it's completely fake. But think about what has been going on, and this is coming from the conservative treehouse, where we're starting to see certain information come out, and it seems like they're trying to cover up certain things, trying to get to the bottom of what Giuliani, Trump really know, trying to cover up their crimes. So we had 4 different stories that came out. Number 1, the 2020 Pfizer review and opinion by proceeding judge James Boasberg, that was declassified. The review is for year 2019. So notice the Fisk review is for the FBI conduct in 2019. Within the outline, Boasberg noted ongoing abuses by FBI officers of the NSA database. Boasberg specifically called attention to the FBI use of that database for warrantless searches of public and private officials. Judge Boasberg hires former DOJ National Security Head Mary McCord as an amicus curiae for the court. McCord is known as a corrupt actor within the Department of Justice with political motives and intentions, including her work and efforts with the Intelligence Community Inspector General during the first impeachment effort against Trump. Notice Boasberg hired McCord for the role at the same time the 2020 opinion is declassified. Number 3, the FBI raids the home of Rudy Giuliani with a search warrant for his electronic devices. Notice the reports of the search warrant highlight the FBI must have something of substance, or at least the appearance of something of substance, in order to get a judge to sign off on a search warrant. Number 4, Rudy Giuliani reveals during an interview that the search warrant includes a reference to supportive evidence obtained by the FBI in 2019. Rudy Giuliani then explains that when his lawyer questioned the FBI, they said they searched his iCloud account in 2019 without a warrant. So put these stories together, and what you realize is a likelihood the warrantless 2019 FBI search of Giuliani's iCloud account is likely one of the 2019 violations noted by Judge Boasberg in his review, which would explain the motive of the Fisk to hire Mary McCord in the event this starts to fall apart in front of the public, where she most likely will try to cover this up. So you can see that they're trying to cover up everything that they did. But what always gets you in the end? It's the cover up. And this is going to bite them in the end because, remember, they're going after Rudy Giuliani. Rudy Giuliani, he has all the information. He knows what happened. Actually, let's go back in time to when Trump was leaving the White House. What did he declassify when he was leaving the White House? Operation Crossfire Hurricane. I wonder what is in that information. Why hasn't that been produced? What are they waiting for? I do believe they're waiting for Durham. Yes, Durham is still investigating. Yes, Durham is real. Remember, at the right moment, at the right time, Trump is going to play the Trump card. And yes, the mainstream media is going to be out there trying to say that this is all fake, phony, and false. But Trump, he declassified the information. The public can see it now. Nothing can stop this. Nothing. Now, down at the border, we know that this is a complete and utter national crisis. People are watching this. People do not agree with Biden. And people are questioning this entire situation. And remember, Trump, he removed all their mechanisms where they were able to bring people in, put them on buses, and it was a very smooth operation. Trump, he secured the border. He removed their mechanisms. This is why they're so angry, because when they tried to put it back into place, their whole system just fell apart. It couldn't operate the way it was. And they're trying to quickly put it back to the way it was. And this is where they're having the problem. This is why You're seeing the problems at the border. That's why they're magnified. But what's very interesting is that Stephen Miller, he put this out and he said, DHS is now admitting illegal aliens, inadmissibles, at our ports of entry. Biden's the first president who's not even trying to stop illegal migration. He's trying to accelerate it. The only problem DHS is trying to solve is how to get people in faster. And he continued, in partnership with the state of Texas, AFL is suing the administration over its illegal catch and release policies, which violates CDC's own COVID rules. So by bringing in the illegals, they're violating what they're telling everyone else. So think about the Biden administration. Remember, he's a puppet. We have the puppet masters controlling them. People can see this very, very clearly. They are now calling Trump supporters white supremacists and terrorists. That's pretty much what they're calling Trump supporters. Yes, they're going to just say it's white supremacists over here. But in the end, they're going to call all Trump supporters white supremacists, no matter what color you are. They're going to say you're either a white supremacist or if you're going along with them, you're also a terrorist. So they're covering all bases right now. But remember, they flipped the script. The script was a little different in Nazi Germany, but you had to pick out a race to make them feel that they were kept down. You had to build hate, and you had to start setting rules for that other race that you wanted to get rid of. That's what they're doing today. Remember, they don't like the Constitution. They don't like this country. What's holding them back now is that the people of this country, they have a weapon. That's why they're trying to get rid of the weapons. So they're calling Trump supporters white supremacists and terrorists. But we can't call illegal aliens who come over the border illegally. We can't say that they're illegal aliens. We have to use a completely different name because we have to be politically correct. Does that make any sense? No, it doesn't. And the other thing that doesn't make sense is John Kerry as the climate czar. Not only does he fly around the world in a private jet, he also invested in big oil before joining the Biden administration. John Kerry invested in oil companies prior to becoming Biden's climate envoy. So he held investments in oil companies, and once he became the climate czar, he started to sell them off. That's very interesting. He had investments in Duke Energy, Dominion Energy, Exelon Corporation, Valero Energy. So he's flying around in a private jet. He was an investor in oil companies, and now he's the climate czar. Plus, we know that John Kerry is a traitor to this country. He was going around giving classified information to our enemy. We'll talk about that in just a second. But we know that the U.S. Postal Service, they were spying on American people. And Matt Gaetz, he decided to introduce legislation with other Republicans to end funding for an arm of the U.S. Postal Service that carries out online surveillance. Yes, they should not be surveilling American people. This is a violation of our rights. And do they have a warrant to do this? No, they don't. Now, what's very interesting is we know that these social media companies, they are censoring the American people. We know that certain government officials have a hotline into these social media companies, and they're instructing them to censor people. Let's talk about protecting yourself. A teen who was behind a $100,000 cryptocurrency scheme has been sentenced to prison. Graham Ivan Clark, 18, hacked over 100 high-profile Twitter accounts and used those accounts to scam six figures worth of cryptocurrency from people around the world. So if these high-profile accounts can get hacked this easily, how difficult would it be for a determined hacker to target you or me? This is why I love using Virtual Shield, Virtual Private Network. It grants you an extra layer of internet protection by allowing you to browse your favorite websites anonymously. I tried out the top VPNs around the world, and Virtual Shield hands down, is my favorite. There's no hidden fees, and Virtual Shield has strict no-log policy, unlike typical VPNs you'll find recommended online. It's fast, secure, it's easy to use. I highly recommend Virtual Shield. Try it today for 50% off by going to virtualshield.com/X22 or click the link in the description. And it seems that information came out about Twitter, about their stocks, and the company's falling apart. And Trump put out a statement, and this is what it says. Twitter stock plunged. As a result, are no longer cutting it for investors. Shares are off by 15% today. Bad forecasts are hurting the outlook, but more importantly, in my opinion, it has become totally boring as people flock to leave the site. Michael Nathanson stated, the math doesn't make sense, as he lowered his price target. I guess that's what happens when you go against freedom of speech. It will happen to others also. And yes, this is what happens. Now, think about it. As people leave Twitter and people go to other platforms, and if Trump actually produces his platform, people are going to flock to a freedom of speech platform. Twitter, Facebook, and the rest, they're just going to fall apart. Now, that reminds me of post 896. This is March 9, 2018, where Anon on the board said, Q, are we going to have more freedom of speech on private public speech services or not? Please answer the question. Said 100% regulated. Some platforms will collapse under own weight of illegal activities. I do believe this is just the beginning. I do believe once the information comes out that these social media companies were taking orders from government officials to censor certain people online, this goes way above and beyond Section 230. This is the government then working with social media companies to censor the American people, which is a violation of the Constitution, of the people's rights. That's illegal. And that's what these companies have been doing. Now, we know that Trump set everything into motion to remove the troops from Afghanistan. And we know that Joe Biden, the puppet masters, they extended the date all the way to 9/11. And they did this on purpose. And I think we all know why they did this, because they want something to happen so they can say, well, we can't remove the troops now. The plan is not working. But Cliff Sims, and we can see people are now waking up to this, and they're starting to realize what's really going on here. He tweeted this out. If Joe Biden had followed the Donald Trump's plan, U.S. troops would be out of Afghanistan today. Instead, Biden played politics, pushed back the date at a cost of $7.5 billion, and risked losing more American lives. Yes, people are angry. Remember, Trump set these peace deals up. Everything was in place. All he had to do was remove the troops on May 1st. The heavy equipment was already moved out. Trump made sure of this, but they didn't want to do it. Why? Because they control the poppy fields. They use that to pay for covert operations. They want war with Russia. They're keeping everything in place. Why would they want to remove their control in this entire area? They wouldn't. And that's why they're pushing their agenda. Now remember, Trump also removed us from the Iranian deal, which was done by Obama, where he had pallets of cash sent over to Iran. And we know that John Kerry, well, he was shadowing Trump during Trump's presidency to make sure that Trump couldn't make another deal. Now, what's very interesting right now is that Britain, they are saying that they'll pay 400 million pounds sterling to Iran for the release of British prisoners. The U.S. is saying the same type of thing. So it looks like the U.S., UK found a loophole to funnel billions of dollars to Iran before a new nuclear deal was agreed and signed. Pay ransom for prisoners, and they can get their money and we can make a deal. Now, the U.S. State Department spokesperson Ned Price is denying all of this. The UK Foreign Office is also playing down this whole thing. So someone is lying. Is it the media that's putting out this information? Or is it the White House in UK because they got caught? Very interesting. Now with John Kerry, it seems that the U.S. Intel, they knew what Kerry was doing, that he had unauthorized talks with Iran. And now they've come out and they said, yes, everything that Kerry was doing was undercutting Trump's ability to make a deal with Iran. Completely illegal. This wasn't known to the public. He gave them classified information. Actually, that's treason right there. He shouldn't just be fired. He should be brought up on charges. Now, didn't they do this to Michael Flynn? Wasn't he accused of the same type of action, but with Russia? But now we see it with John Kerry. We're soon going to see it with Biden and Obama. Notice how all this information is dripping out at the right time where everyone can see it. Now, what's very interesting is that we know that Andrew Cuomo, he's in trouble here. And we know that he's being investigated for sexual harassment. He's being investigated for the nursing home, for telling people to help him write his book, for his staff where they were covering up the number of deaths in nursing homes. And now we have Cuomo's COVID-19 czar. He just abruptly resigned. Larry Schwartz, he was his advisor. And he tendered his resignation following a change to a state ethics law. Now, Schwartz resigned because New York legislator, they changed the ethics law, which previously granted a volunteer status to individuals aiding the state COVID-19 response. Under the new law, Schwartz would be required to file financial disclosures, submit to a 2-year lobbying ban following any work done for the state. So he's like, I'm out here. Now, remember, Schwartz, he was also the subject of a state ethics complaint for having called Democrat officials to gauge their loyalty to Cuomo after the governor was accused of sexual harassment. So this is the same guy, and now he just resigned. Now, what's very interesting is that Twitter, they censored a peer-reviewed mass study. Now, this mass study was done to show if masks work or they don't work. Prashant Bhushan, an advocate on record for the Supreme Court of India, put a post on Twitter that recommended reading a peer-reviewed study demonstrating that masks are ineffective and can cause substantial adverse psychological and physiological effects. Twitter removed the tweet, citing a violation of Twitter rules. Now, the study suggests that by mechanically restricting breathing, wearing a face mask may lead to a low level of oxygen in the blood, along with excessive carbon dioxide in your bloodstream, which in turn may lead to numerous long-term health effects. YouTube, they got wind that Twitter took it down and it was up on YouTube. They decided to take this down. So what did they censor? Well, the study was written by Baruch Van Schalboim with Veterans Affairs, Palo Alto Healthcare System, Stanford University, summarizes scientific evidence on wearing face masks in the COVID-19 era. And what they've come to find here, that face masks, they do not stop the virus, flu virus, COVID virus, or any type of virus. The overall clinical consequences of COVID-19 are similar to those of severe seasonal influenza, having a case fatality rate of approximately 0.1%. As for the efficacy of face masks, SARS-CoV-2, which is about 1,000 times smaller than face mask thread diameter, these particles can easily pass through a mask, so they do not stop the virus. Now, why would the social media companies want to stop this from getting out? Remember, this is not the only study. There are many, many other studies out there showing that nobody should be wearing a mask. They just do not work. We've known this for a very long time. This is why Fauci, in the very, very beginning, he told everyone, listen, they don't work. Think about it. Is there one standard mask that everyone is using? No. People are using a dollar store bandana. People are using Chinese surgical masks. People are using homemade masks. People are using shirts. Have all of these been tested? No, they don't work. Actually, as they do more and more tests, and the more and more studies that come out that are peer-reviewed, their entire narrative is going to start to fall apart. This is why they're censoring, because people are going to find out that it doesn't work. And if people don't wear masks, the fear goes away. They don't want that to happen yet. They need the fear. They like the control. But we can see it's already starting to fall apart. Now, out in California, it seems that California is planning to release about 76,000 prison inmates, including violent and repeat felons. Now, the question is, what are they planning to do? Because we've seen this happen before. Are they going to use these individuals for riots, for criminal activity, once the election fraud information comes out? Now, think about what they're doing. They're letting the prisoners out, some that are repeat offenders, violent repeat offenders, and they want to take weapons away from law-abiding citizens. Does that make any sense? Well, it does in their world, because they want the criminals to have control. They don't want the American people to defend themselves, because a disarmed population is very easy to control. An armed population, you can't mess with them. And this is why they've been trying so hard. Now, we know from Q's posts that these corrupt individuals, these treasonous people, what's going to happen is the people are going to find out who they truly are. And they're starting to see this now. More and more people are waking up every single day. And we can see this firsthand. We had Mitt Romney. He showed up at the Utah GOP convention. And Dan Scavino put this tweet out. He says, a loser showed up at the Utah GOP convention. Well deserved. What happened there? Well, take a listen.
Who says what he thinks, and I don't hide the fact that I wasn't a fan of our last president's character issues. And I'm also no fan. Aren't you embarrassed? And I'm also no fan of the president's.
Now, people, they were booing him. The people are not agreeing with him. Soon, these people will not be able to walk down the street. And it won't be just Mitt Romney. It will be Nancy Pelosi and every single corrupt politician. They won't be able to hide. Because once the information comes out, who they really are, what crimes they committed, what treasonous acts they committed, it's going to be game over. And they won't be able to walk down the street. And you can see right now, at the GOP convention, the people are booing him. It has already begun. Now, this tweet that Dan Scavino put out, this was put out at 6:26. So I went back to post 6:26. This is January 27, 2018. It says the following. Chatter exploding. Change of narrative will be required. Public to awaken mass start. Sleeping pill reject. OP Mockingbird failure. Fake with an arrow pointing to real. Blind 2020 vision now. Kill chain. Where we go one, we go all. It looks like it has already begun here. Now, out in Arizona, we can see that the audit is going strong. Everything the deep state has tried to do has failed thus far. But it seems that Kelly Ward, she is sounding the alarm that certain individuals, they were trying to sneak into the audit floor. And these entities are connected to George Soros, and they will do anything to prevent the 2020 election steal from being uncovered. Now, the Arizona audit live feeds, they put out something where they said the court, the Maricopa Superior Court, they leaked sealed security plans for cyber ninjas, and these plans were crafted to counter attacks from Antifa or from the carnival that was set up. Yes, there's a carnival that was set up right next door to the audit. Very, very interesting. And then we have Maricopa, Arizona audit. They tweeted this out. You, Katie Hobbs, might be held accountable for having your paid election expert Ryan Marcius impersonate a reporter and try to sneak past security to get on the ballot floor. More to come. So it looks like they actually had someone sneak in to see what was really going on, to see if they can get some information. Now, it seems that the Maricopa, Arizona audit, they had some big news that came out. And it says, today we return half of the voting machines to the county after capturing all data. We are now moving to phase 2 and beginning the forensic analysis. The audit continues. And yes, the audit is continuing. Now, it seems that Mike Pompeo, he sent us a message. He tweeted this out. He says, the Pompeo's Kentucky Derby, because the Kentucky Derby was yesterday. It says, the Kentucky Derby exacta both ways. known agenda and obesos. A West Point USMA double. In Boca Al Lupa, Vinny, and best of luck, Terry. So very interesting, known agenda. So is he letting us know that they know the agenda? I do believe so. Now on We the Media, Truthhammer put this out, and he said, to any honest people left on the political left, how we move forward as a nation. As you know, we are severely divided on how to run the countries we are forced to cohabitate with, not just the U.S. To avoid actual war, we must have free and fair elections, and half of America really does believe the other half is now rigging elections. Take a moment to allow this to sink in. We really do believe your chosen leaders colluded with the mainstream media, big tech censorship, and rigged the election. If you really understand this, you'll be feeling some chills about now. How do you want to resolve this? Power keg? Moment in America and world history? Will future generations look back with gladness that we found a civil way to work together? Or will this generation end up as a cautionary tale of how not to let political division progress to the point of no return? You have the power to play a role in the solution. If you are confident the election was not rigged, then you should be eager to prove that, no matter how many audits are needed, because audits are cheap compared to the actual conflict that might emerge if half the country comes to believe it has been backed into a corner by the other side with no way out. Fact. We've seen case after case dismissed by controversial decisions of technicalities or courts that straight up refuse to take a case. Not one swing state case has been decided on the merits. You have weaponized our courts against us and are blocking every effort to open up the election and even look on how it went down. Look forward, where do you think your present course of action leads? Hint, the answer is right in the Marxist playbook your leaders often quote from. And yes, I do believe in the end, when people start to see the proof, the facts, and more states join in, and they say, well, let's take a look, and they do it on their own, and they see that, yes, there was corruption, there was fraud, the people are going to start to come together. The people are going to start to realize who the enemy really is. And Trump, he was at Mar-a-Lago, and he let everyone know where we are headed. Take a listen.
I wouldn't be surprised if they found thousands and thousands and thousands of votes. So we're going to watch that very closely. And after that, you'll watch Pennsylvania, and you'll watch Georgia, and you're going to watch Michigan and Wisconsin, and you're watching New Hampshire. They found a lot of votes up in New Hampshire just now. You saw that, because this was a rigged election. Everybody knows it, and we're going to be watching it very closely. But start off by, you just take a look. It's on closed circuit. I guess it's on all over the place because everyone's talking about yesterday, front page of the New York Times. They didn't want to write it, but that's because they thought they were going to have a negative decision, and the judge gave us a positive decision.
Now, if you listen to what he said, let's see what we find. Watch Pennsylvania, then we're going to watch Georgia, Michigan, Wisconsin, and so forth. Yes, this is all about showing the people the truth, waking the people up, destroying the mainstream media, the invisible enemy, with We the People. Actually, if you look back at Andrew Jackson, he used the same exact tactic. He went to the people. The people heard him. The people saw the truth, and they voted for him. The same thing is going to happen now, because with the people behind Trump, the deep state, the mainstream media, the minority, they won't be able to hit back. Yes, they will try. They will use whatever they have to. Remember, they fight dirty. They will shut down communications. They will try false flags all over the place to distract from all of this. But we, the people, can see through all of this now. And as we, the people, see more and more of this, and those people have never seen any of it, and they start to see it, they will wake up. And more people will wake up. And the deep state, the mainstream media, they won't be able to convince anyone. Soon, none of these people will be able to walk down the street. Their days are numbered. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.